Hey, welcome back, guys. I'm truly glad that you're here. William Wood here, and today we're going to be talking about the law of attraction, and we're going to be talking about how to create your future with vision. And by the time that today is done, we're actually going to give you some tools that you can immediately put into practice to get the results that you want. Let me just check, make sure my sound is going. Okay, looks like my sound is going. And that way make sure you guys can hear me. One time I did a webinar and I was talking and I was all excited. I was sharing great content, and then I looked down and realized no sound. I was getting emails coming in saying, "Hey, we can't hear you, dude." So I'm glad that you can hear me today, and I'm truly grateful that you can be with me. Here we are on a Tuesday afternoon, and you could be doing a lot of things, and you're here. And I just wanted to say that I genuinely am grateful that you're here and that you're taking time to be with me. So why vision? Let's go with the why behind why you'd want to have vision in your life. There's an ancient saying that says, where there is no vision, the people perish. And vision is something that allows us to see the invisible before it becomes a concrete reality. It is something that allows us to shape and create our future. Sometimes in the law of attraction community, you hear people talk about how thought creates reality. Well, I'm here to say that not only does thought create reality, but there's a bigger formula at play. And I want to make sure that you have the big picture behind the formula before the end. But the reason we want to pay attention to our thoughts is because our thoughts are so powerful that they can literally create circumstances, they can shape events, and they can bring to pass wonderful or terrible things. And so the way that we view the future will either draw and pull us in, or it can push away things that we might otherwise welcome and enjoy. And so the reason we want to spend time learning about visualization, and we want to learn about different visualization techniques, is because I want to help you draw in more of what it is that you want in your life. And so that's my question. My question is what is it that you want? What do you want in your life? Are you looking at creating relationships that are healthy? Are you looking at creating abundance in your finances? Are you looking at creating a better connection or communication with your spouse or your partner or your child? Are you looking at creating a relationship with your body that really and truly allows you to have the life that you want to live? Using thought to create is one of the first levels of creation. I'm talking about 3 levels of creation, and let me just do a quick review of those right here. And then I want to draw you out a picture to help you see where we're going. But the very first thing that we create with is we create with our thoughts. But really, that's not the last step in the creative process. It's just the first one. We create with our thoughts, and really, we create with our thoughts in our hearts, and that's what most people don't mention. In the ancient world, in the Eastern world, the mind and the emotions were seen to be as part of one system. And when thought meets emotion, that's where creative power is really developed. So if you want to create something, it's not just thinking it, because you can think a thought from here up without ever really connecting it down into the core of your being. Where a thought becomes very, very powerful is when it becomes totally aligned with what's in your heart. So we say level 1 creation is create with the mind. And when I say mind, I mean both what's in the head and what's in the physical body. The second level of creation is to create with the mouth, and that's to speak what it is that you want. Like in the ancient biblical account, speaking the world into existence. Let there be light, and there was light. And then the third level of creation is to take inspired action, to go out and to take those actions that will harmonize with what it is that you're looking to create. So, but we're going to be talking about Level 1 creation, we're talking about creating with the mind. We're talking about creating with the thought and aligning the thought with the heart, and that's really what matters. So let me draw something out for you that I think will be helpful. And this is the first bit of how to use vision boards, and that's where we're going. And then I want to tell you a story. But let me just draw this out. This will take just a quick second. It's a little lopsided, but that's all right. Okay. Our thoughts impact our emotions, and the way we think will create certain sensations. An experiment, let's do a couple of experiments around this. I'd like you to have an experiment. So if you're driving or something, or like, hopefully you're not like flying a plane and watching a webinar, that'd be weird. But like if you're doing something weird like that, maybe shelve this for later. But right now, let's do a little experiment. Let's have a little experience together. If you can safely close your eyes, go ahead and close your eyes. And I want you to think about your very favorite food. What do you really like to eat? What's something that when you think about it even, your mouth starts to water? Your body starts to have that certain sensation. Maybe it's a tingling or an anticipation. But just think about it for a minute. What's that like? And then remember the last time that you really enjoyed that food. And just step into that experience. What is it like to be there and to experience that amazing food? Now, when you've got that, go ahead and open up your eyes. Did you notice that your body started to react as if it was actually having the experience? We're going to do one more thought experiment here to show you how this works. Some of you may have experienced feelings in the mouth. Some of you may have felt hunger pains. It's right around lunchtime where I'm at. So I'm like, ooh, I'm hungry, right? That's what I'm talking about, food. But some of you maybe got stirred up emotionally as you had feelings of peace or contentment or well-being come over you as you thought about that food. Our thoughts produce bodily sensations. Those bodily sensations generate emotions, and then they stimulate more thoughts. One of the ways to actively increase your creative mind potential is to focus in on your thoughts in a way that creates a sensory-based experience. Something you see, something you hear, something you feel, something you taste, right? And then to allow that to generate an emotion that then stimulates more creative thought. Because again, the magic that happens is when the mind and the heart marry and they meet. That's where the creative seed is planted down in the heart. You can think of it like the mind creates the image that then plants a seed in the heart, and that seed in the heart then grows into a tree of abundance. And that's how we create. Or the mind creates a seed of fear or lack, and that seed is planted and then it creates too. So we want to learn how to create with the mind. And this is all moving towards what a vision board is and how a vision board works and how we can use the vision board to create what it is that we want in life. But it really has to do with this thought emotion cycle, that thoughts create, and I really probably should have drawn sensations on it. If we wanted a full triangle, we go thoughts create sensations or a sensory experience. Those sensory experiences lead to emotions that then generate more thoughts. And that's part of this generative cycle that we use to powerfully create. So let's do one more thought experiment. Close your eyes and imagine a fresh lemon. I used to live in Phoenix, Arizona, and there was this neighbor that we had that had a lemon tree out back, and citrus just loves the heat and the climate in the Phoenix area. And so this lemon tree, when it came about, right around this time of year would be the end of the season, but really like January, February, March, the tree was just filled to the brim bursting with yellow, and the air had this pleasant citrusy smell. You know how when you walk by a citrus tree, it just is exploding with life and that sharp, sweet flavor? And that's what it was like to walk into their backyard. It's just your senses just were visually just consumed in the yellowness, and the smell just drew you in. So just imagine we walk over to this lemon tree. Your eyes are still closed. You pluck the lemon. You cut that lemon in half, and then you smell the juices there. And it's an explosion of sensation because this is a fresh, ripe, juicy lemon. And there's that smell of a freshly cut lemon. And just imagine savoring that as you can feel the sensation moving through your nasal passage. And then just imagine that you take some of that lemon juice, you hold up the lemon right up above your mouth. It's right up above you, and then you squeeze that lemon, and that lemon juice just pours all over your tongue, and ooh, it's tart, and it just starts to like bind you up right in the jaw, and so your jaw just kind of clenches down a little bit. And then you swallow, and then you pucker, and then there you go. And that's the experience. And so my question to you right now is this, is just with that little imagination journey, you can open up your eyes now with that little imagination journey that we just took. What was it like? Were you able to see colors in your mind? Were you able to feel your jaw get tight? My jaw, actually, just in describing it, is still a little tight right now, just like the tightness in the back of the jaw. Or were you able to feel in the body what that sensation was like? That is the sensation that was produced by thought. Thought has a generative power. Thought has the ability to create, and the first creation is to create a sensory-based experience inside of the body. And once thought and emotion marry, once they come together, that is the creative seed that is planted in the heart. And then there's a gestation period where if you water that seed, if you cultivate it, if you continue to come back to it and put your attention and your emotions on that thought, it starts to produce a new life. So how do we use this in our favor? I mean, here we're talking about lemons, and lemons aren't super useful. Maybe if you want to manifest a lemon tree in your life, you can visualize lemons, and maybe that's important for one of you. I don't want to take that away. But for most of you here, you're here to learn how to create a relationship, or a lot of you here are learning how to create abundance in your life. And how is it that we generate feelings that attract wealth into us in the tangible world, not just in the thought world? It starts with the mind, but it doesn't end with the mind. If your visualization does not activate a feeling, it's not going to have any creative power. It is emotion that generates the creative power of thought. Thought minus emotion equals no creation. Thought plus emotion is manifestation. And so in the laws of creation, in the law of abundance, in the law of attraction, what we say is it's not only thinking a thought, but it is putting yourself into complete harmony with that thought. If what you want to manifest in your life is health, you need not only think healthy thoughts, but you need to put your emotional self into complete alignment with health. If you want to manifest an income, if you're looking at bringing in an income, income is always a direct result of how many people you serve. And so if you want to attract in an income, you've got to attract people into your life. And I don't care what your business is, because people control opportunities, ideas, and resources. They're the gatekeeper. They are the stewards of things and money. And so if you want to make more money in your life, it means you got to serve more people. If you're a tax accountant and you want more people in your tax practice, you have got to attract people in. And people are the stewards of their businesses, of their personal finances, and they've got the moolah that's going to pay you the bills. So people are the stewards of resources. So to increase your income, you've got to become attractive to other people. Well, so let's talk about this. And then we're going to move into visualization practices, and we're going to go to the vision board and how it works. But what causes people to be attracted to you? It is the feeling that they get when they are around you, when they're around your product, and when they're around your service. So the question that I have for you, let me take a quick little drink here. The question I have for you is this. How do people feel when they're around you? And what are the emotions that drive people away? And what are the emotions that pull people in? So I want you to think about the people just for a moment. I apologize for doing this to you, but I want you to think about the people that easily drive you away, that you're around them, you're like, toxic, get me out of here. And I think about it for just a minute. What are the emotions that you feel when you're around them? For a lot of people, it's going to be things like anxiety, tightness, all clenched and locked up. Well, if that's how you make people feel, people will run from you. They will try to get as far away from you as they possibly can. Now, just clear that all in your mind. Okay, just take that out of the mind. We'll put that off to one side. Now think about, what about on the other end? We're talking about laws of creation. We're talking about laws of attraction, how to attract abundance into your life, which means attracting people, no matter what you do. If you're a blogger, you gain an audience by attracting people to your blog, right? And people are attracted based on how they feel around you. So how do people feel around you? And what are the feelings that are attractive? So think about the people that are just, they're fun to be around. They're exciting to be around. They're motivational to be around. What are the emotions that they're stirring up inside of you? And what are the most powerful attractor emotions? Inspiration is probably way up on the list. Love. Have you ever been around someone who just inspires your heart to expand? And it's like while you're around them, you can just feel that you're radiating love and acceptance. If you've never had that experience, it's the most powerful one that I know about. Love acts like a deep gravitational field that just like pulls in the planets, it bends the light, it just scoops in goodness and yumminess and just pulls it all around you. That's what love does. That's what love's effect is on people. You want to attract people to you, find a way to inspire, to lift, and to motivate. And the first place that that's created is with thought. You first think inspiring thoughts, you think motivating thoughts, you think loving thoughts, and those thoughts drop down into the heart, they're planted like a seed, and they start to grow. And they grow into this field of love, this gravitational field that just draws people into you. When people come around you, they bring with them as stewards, they bring resources, opportunities, and money. And so how do your products or services, how do you make people feel? One of the ways to attract more abundance into your life is to generate that into who you are. Here's another way of saying all this. The reason that you visualize is so that you create the emotion in you that other people want. And when you do that, you become compellingly attractive, irresistible. If you're looking at manifesting the ideal relationship, what feeling does your girlfriend, boyfriend, life partner, spouse, what do they get when they're around you? Will, are you telling me that the feeling that I'm generating is attracting people or repelling people from me, and it's creating my bad relationships with my spouse or my partner or my kids, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. But what I'm also saying is that you can generate new feelings inside of you based on the thoughts that you start thinking. So if you start thinking about your own emotional thumbprint, and you think about the way that you're causing people to feel as you're around them, if you see that people naturally shy away from you, if they back off, if they give you space, if they're not being drawn into you, or if the wrong kind of people are being drawn to you over and over again, it means that you need to change your emotional imprint, your emotional thumbprint, because that's what people are feeling when they're around you. And that's one of the reasons why we visualize. And so that was a long why. So let me tell you a little story. So the other day, my sister's in town right now. My sister Missy, she's 14 years younger than me, almost 15 years younger than me. And so she's in her 20s right now. I'll be 41 here in a month. Holy cow, I'll be 41 in a month. Still feel like I'm 18. But my body tells me that I'm 41. But she's over here and she has 3 beautiful babies, baby boys. Youngest baby boy is 3 months old, and the next youngest one I think is 2, almost 3. He's 2 going on 3. And then she has a 4-year-old, and his name is Micah. And so the girls wanted some time just to relax in the house on Sunday, and I took the boys out to a pond that's not too far from our house. Super kid-friendly place, and there's a little stream just behind the pond, and it's a great place to go sit and think and meditate. It's a place that I frequently go just to get calm, to get quiet, to invite stillness into my being. It's a place where I go to recharge. It's just enough nature that I can get that nature recharge without going far from my house. I have a better spot that's about 10 minutes away, and then a little hike, but it takes a minute to get there. It takes about 30 minutes total to get there and hike up at the best. So I took my kids to my secret spot out by the stream that feeds into this little duck pond right by the house. It's about a 5-minute walk. And we got out there, and there's the stream cuts through these rocky banks, and the banks go steep down, like steep for like 5 or 10 feet down into where the stream is just rushing through. And right now, the snow is melting off of the Utah mountains. So there's just water rushing through this stream. It's not very deep. It's like maybe knee deep, but it is just rushing through the stream right now because the snow melt is coming down as we're moving into spring. And so I brought the boys down to the edge of the water, and we were doing what boys do. We were throwing rocks into the river, and I had a couple of my boys there. My 6-year-old was there. My 7-year-old was there, and my 11-year-old was there. And we were throwing rocks in the stream. We were having a good time. And then the 6-year-old asked if he could cross the stream. So there's these 2 logs. And just imagine it. There's one log that sits right across the stream, and it's a whitewashed, sun-bleached log that connects one side of the bank to the other. And then right underneath it, there's another log that's like maybe 2 feet, 3 feet, probably I think 3 feet underneath it. And it's at the perfect height where a kid can hold on to that higher log with his hands and then kind of shimmy his way across the log so he can safely cross the bank over this very, very cold, not glacially fed, but snow-fed stream that's like, oh man, the water feels like it still should be frozen at this point. It's like freezing cold. So my 7-year-old walks across, and the 4-year-old asks if he can do it. Well, it's just like 10 feet, and there's a handhold, and it looked safe, and he had done it before on another day. And so I said, sure, buddy, just be careful. So he walked across the stream, and then they were playing on the other bank for a while. Then they were coming back. The 7-year-old is coming back. About 10 minutes later, he's coming back across the stream. And my 4-year-old nephew is crossing, and he's got his eyes fixed on where he's going. He's got his eyes fixed on where he's going. He's got his eyes fixed on where he's going. He's looking down right in front of him. And then all of a sudden, he gets distracted by something he sees on the other bank, and he's not looking where he's going. And he takes his hand off of the log, and then he takes another step. He slips. His foot just goes, whoop, and he goes whoop like this, and he lands right in his butt, just boom, in the water. His eyes go up like saucers like this, and it's like you can see just this injection of cold in him, and he goes like this, and then the water comes and tips him over and pushes him back, and whoo, he's like completely submerged, right? I mean, there is not an ounce of his body that is above that water. He is completely under the water. And now I'm like the supervising adult, and my sister's not there. My first thought is like, oh no, he's gonna drown. And so like, I mean, I immediately, bang, I'm up, I'm standing up, because I was right by the bank. So I was just like 3 feet from him. Bang, I'm up from the bank, and I'm looking at him. There's a kid underwater. I'm like, is he gonna come up? The water's not deep, but man, it's cold and it's fast, and maybe it's gonna push him down. I was afraid it was gonna like wash him down into the pond. And so I'm starting to like freak out, right? I'm thinking, oh my gosh, my nephew is gonna drown. And so I get up and I'm about ready to like leap in, and then he comes up like this. And then the water hits him again, and he goes back under, and then he forces his way back up, and he's coming back up, and he's just like over and over again. He's like, all in like 3 seconds, and I'm like dashing down to him, and then I run over into the water, and I run over onto the log right where he is. I reach down my hand and I like pull him up, and now he's standing up in the middle of the stream, and he is completely covered in water from the top of his head to the tips of his toes. Now, it was a warm-ish day, but I'm talking like, oh man, 65 degrees in the evening on a warm spring day, covered in glacial water, and his hand is cold to the touch. We're only like 10 minutes from the house, but then I tell the boys, guys, it's time to go home. And I love this. My 7-year-old looks at me and goes, why? I'm like, your cousin is completely soaking wet. This is the cue to go. Anyways, it was super cute. So we bring him home, and he is just like shivering and shaking, and I'm holding him by the hand, and I've got his brother up on my shoulders because he's like 2, and he's like, Micah, are you cold? You know, and Micah's just like, I mean, he's got like zero. He's one of those kids who's got like zero body fat. There's like maybe 3% body fat or 4% body fat, just like skin and bones, right? So he's just like shaking and shivering. And so we get him inside, and then we put him in a warm bath. And it takes us about an hour to warm him up, just with warm water. And then we got a heater on him, and it took a while to warm back up after going down into the cold, cold, cold water. Now, here's why I bring this up. Why did he fall? I mean, he's 4, right? Maybe I shouldn't have let him go across the log alone. Maybe I should have been there with him, right? So like, bad me. Fortunately, he's okay, right? I mean, not even bruised or scraped or anything, just his pride was wounded and he got really cold. He landed pretty well. He had a little traumatic moment there with the water, but and I helped him create a meaning around it. Right now, this is actually something that I want to just put out to you guys right here. This is not the point of this story, right? Not here, right now. But see, he could have started to form a story about what water meant or what the experience meant, and so I started to frame it immediately when he came out of the water, and I was like, "You are so brave." Because if that boy is going to create any meaning around that event, I want it to be a positive one. Because it's not what happens to us, it is what we decide about what happens to us that forms our experience. And so immediately and all night long, that's the story I had everyone in the house repeating. My wife, my sister, the other kids. You are so brave, Micah. You came up out of that water. You stood right up. You walked home. You hardly even cried. I mean, cried a little bit always in the water, but like you hardly even cried. You were brave. You are a brave one. The whole time he's just nodding his head. He's soaking it up. And he's forming a story now about what it means to be in difficulty. It means that he's brave. He's the kind of boy that stands up and walks home even when it's cold and his sneakers are squishy. So anyway, but let's go back to the moment where he fell as he's walking across the water. The reason he fell is because he took his eyes off of where he was going. I'm going to say it again. And we're going to go right into vision boards. The reason he fell is because he took his eyes off where he was going. Now he's 4. 4-year-olds do that. Don't you? As you pour your focus on where you're going, regardless of where you've been, it gives you the ability to safely take a step forward. We create with our thoughts, and part of creating a new result is to take your vision and to lock it onto where you're going and not to take your eye off of the next step until you get there. And if you've ever felt like you were in the water about to drown with just cold water pushing you back under over and over and over again, it's probably because you took your eye off of where you're going. So we create vision with our thoughts. Vision is literally the ability to see the unseen. We see the invisible with our inner eye. We create the unseen. Sorry about that, my phone's making noise. We create the unseen in the mind before we manifest it out in the real world. So what's the first step to doing that? It is to put pictures in your mind. Some of you visualize well enough that you don't need a tool like a vision board. Some of you visualize well enough that you can do it just by closing your eyes and generating the image. But some of you need a little bit of help. And I have a lot of clients that need help building vision. One of the tools that will help you build a vision and to keep your eyes locked on where it is that you're going is a vision board. Now, there's lots of different ways to do vision boards, and you can go out and you can find all sorts of examples of vision boards on I've seen them on YouTube, I've seen them on Google Images. And I think that there are, after working with a lot of people, like I don't know, I've worked with thousands of people all over the globe. I've had people in more than 64 countries tune into my audio and my video programs. And I have personally trained people live in North and South America. And as I do that, one of the things that I find is that there's a way to do a vision board in a way to get it to work. And there's a way to do a vision board in a way that's more likely to be overwhelming and distracting. So remember that the creative power is not only putting something on paper, it's getting that thought to drop down into your emotional powerhouse, down into the heart or down into the deep belly, and to create that emotion around it. And that's where the powerhouse of creation happens. It's when thought meets emotion. It's when thought meets emotion. So how do you do a vision board in a way that works? Well, there's been a bunch of research that talks about how much information people can consciously pay attention to. And without rehashing all the data, here's the short version. It's not very much. We can only pay attention consciously to a few things at any given moment. And so if you want to consciously create, you need to narrow your focus down from a lot of things. So the number one mistake that I see people make as they're putting together a vision board is that they'll try to put like 50 images on a vision board. I actually saw one person once where they took up half of a wall and they had a mural, and it wasn't like one thing that was really big. It was like 5,000 little images all pasted in of all the things that she wanted to create. And it was overwhelming. It's like I looked at it and I felt stress just by looking at it. It's like there was so much on that wall, I couldn't pay attention to any one thing. Now, it could have just been me. So I asked her, I said, well, how well is this working? She goes, oh, I've had the same board up here for 7 years. I said, have you manifested? Have you created anything that's on your board? She says, no. And so I challenged her to keep her mural, but I challenged her to get a little board and to really simplify it and to narrow it down to just a few things. Most of the research tells us that people can pay attention to 5 plus or minus 2. That means between 3 and 7 items. And so what's the ideal number of items for most people? With my clients, most of the time it is between 3 and 4. And if you're a brand newbie and you're not used to doing this, you might want to just start with 1 item. And so what is a vision board? A vision board is a dedicated space for creative thought. And so for me, what I did is I bought a cork board. My cork board is about 2.5 feet by 2.5 feet. It's rectangular, so it's not quite, maybe 3 feet by 2.5 feet or something like that. And I have it inside of my bedroom, right near the door. The reason that I position it there is because it is easy for me to show up and to look at it. That's it. It's just easy, right? Not because it's special, not because it's magic spot, but because I go there a lot. So the question is where do you almost have to go so that it's right in front of you all the time, so that you remember to look at it? So mine is right by the bedroom door. I go in and out of the bedroom door when I'm at home. I go in there at least in the morning and at least at night. But oftentimes I'll be in and out of the bedroom, 10 times in the day. So it's in a place where it's easily positioned for me to pause and to take a look at it. So on my vision board, I'm going to just draw this out for you, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Right now I have 4 images on my vision board. So I have the same problem that anybody else has. I have a limited amount of attention. I don't have 1,000 things on my vision board. Or my creation board, I have 4. And I pay attention to those 4 things. I have a health goal, I have a relationship goal, I have a financial goal, and then I have 4 images with 3 goals. So what I have is I have a board. I'll draw it out like this. So I have a board, and the board is, again, about 3 feet by 2.5 feet. It's just a cork board. I think I paid under $10 for it. I might have gone to like a secondhand store or something like that and picked it up used. I mean, but you can buy them at like Office Max for under $20, right? So just something like that. And it's a cork board. It's in perfect condition. And then I've got little pins. And what I do is I find images, or I take pictures that represent things that I'm actively pursuing or manifesting in my own personal life. So for example, what I do is right now I've got a financial goal. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about it here. Every dollar that I make by serving people, by building a community around me, and by serving that community. And I do that as a coach. I do that as a mentor. I do that in masterminds. I do that in a variety of different ways. And so my goal is to generate $30,000 of income. In order to do that, what I really need to do is I need to help 12 people also step into their power and start to attract audiences. That's what I got to do. I've got it all mapped out, and I've got to directly and indirectly reach hundreds of people throughout the month by teaching classes, by teaching workshops, and by offering products and services that help develop people's minds and hearts and businesses. And so what I do is I've got this goal right up here. So I've got a picture. I'm going to draw it and show it to you. And I was at one of my mentors' houses. I'm just drawing out the 2 pictures. And it looks something like this. Okay. Now this is a drawing, a sketch, but this is essentially what's there. What I've got is I've got a picture of me holding $20,000, not 30, but it's $20,000 in cash. And one of my mentors lent it to me and over at his house. And I have a giant stack of 20s in one hand. It might actually been $30,000. It was between 20 and 30, but I want to say it was 20. I have a giant stack of 20s in one hand. It's like this stack like this. And then in the other hand, I've got a stack of hundreds, and it's like a lot smaller, right? And so in one hand, I've got a stack of $10,000, and over here, I think I have another stack of $10,000 in 20s, and I'm holding it. And that image provides a memory of me holding the evidence in my hand of what it is that I'm creating. Now, if you were wanting to manifest a new car in your life, You could go down to the dealership, you could step into the car that you want to drive, whether that's a Honda Accord or a Lamborghini. You could sit in it and have somebody take a picture or a short video of you in it. Something to stimulate the imagination. Why? Same reason that we did right at the beginning of the workshop. Because what you think about generates sensations and emotions, and thought plus emotion becomes a creative force that, boom, goes out into the world and generates what you want. So I've got this image, and this is just one of the images. Then I've got an image right in the middle that is related to a relationship goal or a leadership goal. And this is a drawing, a hand drawing that I've done of me teaching a group of 30 people. Tonight, I think I'll be teaching a group of 15, I think we have 17 RSVPs. If everybody shows up, 19 RSVPs, something like that. So I have this picture of me teaching a group, hand-drawn, and it's something to stimulate my imagination, to remind me what it is that I'm looking for. And then over here, I have a number. It's just a number written down. And then I'll draw out one more thing here. I have a number, and that is the weight goal where I want to maintain my weight at 180. Last year I lost a lot of weight. My weight's gone up just a little bit over the last couple of months because I haven't had my attention on it. Just put my attention back on it in the last week, just to bring it back down, to keep it at a nice, healthy, stable space. And so I've got these are the four things that I've got. I've got income goal and a number. I've got relationship leadership goal, which is me teaching a bunch of people. I've got a number goal, which is a weight goal, and this really represents a healthy body. And then down below, I have a $100 bill tacked up there. You're like, Will, do you actually have a $100 bill? I actually have a Benjamin Franklin pinned up onto my board. And that's what my board looks like. So now you don't have to do this exactly like I'm doing it. You could have other goals. Your goal could primarily be a relationship goal. Maybe you're trying to attract the ideal mate into your life. Maybe you're trying to attract a deep, meaningful relationship with your children. Maybe you're trying to create financial abundance, or maybe you're trying to create a different number amount. But what you do with a vision board is you put a few, not a lot, a few images right in front of you that represent what it is that you're going for. And then each and every day you spend time looking at the board. Now, where's the magic? The magic is not in the board. The magic is in what you do with the board. The magic is in your own mind and in your own heart. And so what I do daily is I put on some epic music, and I really like Audio Machine. If you've never bought their stuff, go out and buy Audio Machine stuff. It's incredible. The album that I usually use is Phenomena, but I also listen to their, I've also listened to their album Tree of Life. I don't own it right now, but I've listened to it. It's just phenomenal, epic music. So I listen to something that is emotionally uplifting, but has no words, so my mind isn't cluttered and distracted. I put myself in front of the vision board, and for the better part of 5 minutes, I look at each image, I lock onto that image, and then I imagine what it will be like to be there. And I create a multi-sensory experience of that event. So with the money, I imagine holding it in my hand. I imagine logging into my bank account and seeing the money there. I imagine being able to do the things that $30,000 will allow me to do, to completely pay off all of my financial obligations so that I own everything that I have. I own my home. I own my college education. I own all of the things that I had bought on credit years ago. I own it all. I also see myself feeding and educating children worldwide, children that had fewer opportunities than I did, because part of my mission is to feed the children, to feed their bodies, to feed their minds, and to help feed their soul with hope. And so I see myself over time feeding 250,000 children a year, providing for their bodies, but then also providing for their mind and their heart and their soul. And that's what that number represents. And so as I visualize that, I see the children receiving meals that never had a meal. As I look at that number, I visualize the individuals' lives that are being impacted, and I see that in my mind. And I spend time looking at where I'm going, just like the story that I told you earlier. Now, something interesting happens. A lot of times in the first couple of minutes that I'm visualizing this, sometimes the heart resists it a little bit for the first minute or two. How long should you be in front of your vision board? Long enough that your mind and heart settle down into stillness. Long enough that you feel your mind and heart align. So how long is that? For some of you, that's just like a couple of minutes, 2-3 minutes. You're in front of the vision board, and at first there's a little tension, and then there's a relaxation as you're visualizing what you want. But for some of you, you need to be there 4 or 5 minutes. For some of you, you might need to be there 10 or 15. Most people within 10 or 15 minutes will be totally aligned. Start with a few minutes and notice. If you just sit in front of your vision board long enough that you still feel tension, you need to be there longer. But that's the whole process. This process of vision boarding is one of the key processes that I used last year to improve my relationship with my wife, like massive improvements. And she was doing it too. It was one of the key processes that I used to lose more than 50 pounds. It is one of the key processes that I used to radically shift my income up. And it is the process that allowed me to achieve more than 40 goals that I set for myself. It was by deliberately deciding what I wanted and then putting my attention on it for between 5 minutes and 10 minutes a day. Letting the picture on the outside jog my imagination and start the creative thought process. Last year, one of my goals was to take my family to the islands of Hawaii. My oldest daughter will turn 19 this year. She's a senior in high school, and she's leaving the home. And I wanted to have a really amazing trip with the entire family and to invite my parents out so that we could spend several weeks together in paradise, commemorating the last time, perhaps ever, that the family will be totally together in that way again. And so at the very beginning of the year, I made a decision. I made a decision that I was going to take my family to Hawaii, but I wasn't really sure how I was going to get all the finances together, because that would have been, I probably spent a lot of money on that trip. I'll just leave it at that. Thousands of dollars, right? The plane tickets alone were like, I think $6,000 or $7,000 or something like that. And so I put up a picture of Hanauma Bay. I found a picture on the internet. I printed it out. And Hanauma Bay is one of the most amazing snorkeling beaches that you'll ever find. Hawaii is just amazing. 80-degree weather, not too hot, not too cold. You can smell that amazing ocean air. The sand is this yellowish sand, and the waves are really gentle because there's a protected reef there. And so it keeps like the big sharks out by and large. And it's just these amazing tropical fish, and sometimes sea turtles will cross the reef. And it's life like you've never seen it if you haven't ever been snorkeling like that. And I'd been there before a couple of times, and I took my wife there. When my wife went there for the first time, she was amazed, and I couldn't get her out of the water. She spent just hours and hours chasing the fish, swimming after the fish, following the fish, and enjoying the tepid bathwater of Hawaii, of the Hawaiian Ocean, the beautiful sand, and the amazing explosion of fish and colors and life. And so I had that picture pinned to the bottom right-hand corner of my vision board for a year. Every day, I would look at that for between 5 and 10 minutes. That picture would jog my memory, And I could remember what it was like. And I imagined walking across that beach, walking down the stone wall, down to the beach down below, and then walking from one end of the beach all the way to the other end of the beach, listening to the very small and gentle waves because of the protected reef right there. Another day, I would imagine standing in the water up to my waist with my feet in the pleasant Hawaiian sand, feeling the snorkel mask on my head, tasting the residue of salt water on my lips, pulling the mask down over my face, putting the snorkeling tube in my mouth, and then pressing my face into that warm Hawaiian water, looking down and seeing the reef and the fish, feeling the undulating movement back and forth of the water as it moved my body up and down with the gentle breaking waves. Some days I would imagine laying on the beach watching my children coming in from the ocean with smiles beaming across their faces. They were clip-clomping with flippers, with fins on their feet, smiling from ear to ear because they had just seen a fish that was more beautiful than anything they had ever seen. Every day. And last December, we got to go. I manifested, I created the experience that I had envisioned and dreamed for an entire year. And when I got there, one of the first things that I did is I walked from one end of the beach all the way to the other end of the beach. And I felt the warm sand between my toes. I listened to the gentle rhythm of the ocean. And while I was there, a very familiar feeling settled down upon me. The familiar feeling that said, "You've been here before." Because I had been there almost 700 times in the imagination. When I went down to snorkel, as I put my mask in the water and I felt that warm water and the sun gently warming my back, and I felt the undulating up and down movement of the ocean as I bobbed up and down in that salty sea. A little voice inside me said, "You've been here before." Because we create first with the mind. So my challenge to you today is to get a vision board, to put it up on your wall, put it somewhere where you can see it. Spend time every day creating your experience, seeing the invisible first with the inner workings of the mind. Letting that sensory experience that you imagine generate sensations and emotions down in your heart. And as that thought drops down into your heart, a seed is planted. So will you do that? Will you spend some time visualizing each and every day with a vision board? Because if you do, it'll change your life. I'd like to extend an invitation to you. If you are looking to create financial abundance in your life, if your goal is a financial goal, if you want to increase your income or create more financial stability or become more independent, you're going to want to click the button below. So I'm going to invite you right now, if you have a financial goal, what I am doing is I am looking actively to mentor 12 people. 12 people who want to create abundance for themselves and to teach others to do the same. And if you are looking for that experience, I'm going to invite you to click the button below and to watch the 19-minute video that's there from beginning to end, where I explain exactly what it is that I do and how I do it. And then if you feel like there's a good fit, go ahead and pull out your credit card and buy. And I will help show you what to do next to create abundance in your life. I'm going to be back next Tuesday, same time. I'll post it on my social media. I'll post it on my email list. So if you're on my email list, I'll make sure that you know about it. But every week, Tuesday that I'm not traveling, I'm going to do one of these webinars right at the same time. So 2:30 Eastern Daylight Time, I'm going to be talking about principles of creation. And next week, I'm going to be talking about one of the laws of abundance. I actually, give me 2 seconds here and I'll look it up on my phone and I'll tell you what the topic is for next week. And you're welcome to come back. I'd love to have you back every week to spend about just under an hour with me. Like today, I will be done within 3 minutes. And you spend an hour with me, learn something new, and learn how to apply principles that will bring prosperity and abundance into your health, into your relationships, and into your well-being, and to your finances. And I do that because I sincerely want to bring well-being into your life. And I want to take the principles that I've learned and teach them to you. So next week is going to be called Pivoting Your Intentions. Pivoting Your Intentions. And I'm going to talk you how to change your focus from what you don't want, spin it around and start looking at what you want, and the power in doing that over and over and over again throughout the day. So William Wood, I'm glad that you came. I am grateful that you've spent the last hour with me. If you're ready to learn more about how to create abundance in your life, click the button below, watch the video, and follow the instructions. And I will see you next week at 2:30 on Tuesday, Eastern Daylight Time. And I'll be sharing with you more about the power of intention. Talk soon.